This week on Keeping Up with Kenya Political Drama, primary school pupils are now campaigning like seasoned politicians.
Na ujuaje tutakunyonyesha alright. Tutakunyonyesha nani? Na tutafadhali heshimu mama. Wanga ni siku zombo. Tulete hapa mdomo mzae utanyonya siaka.
ODM is slowly losing its opposition identity. Fuel prices have pushed Kenyans to the edge, and the political war between President William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua is becoming messier as the road to 2027 slowly begins. Welcome to Kenya, where politics is no longer just politics. It is entertainment, it is survival, it is propaganda, it is influence. And apparently, even primary school kids are now involved.
But nyinyi mke mkijua, sisi ndo tuko ground, mimi ndo niko ground.
From classrooms turning into mini parliaments, to opposition parties losing their voices, to ordinary mwananchi carrying the burden of fuel prices, this week reminded us that politics in Kenya is no longer happening only in parliament. It is happening in schools, on TikTok, in families, in churches, and at bus stages, and even inside criminal investigations. And maybe the scariest part of all of this, the younger generation is watching, listening, learning, and slowly becoming a reflection of the very political environment around them. So the question is, are we building future leaders or simply raising another generation to inherit the same political chaos?
Kuna watu wanataka kunimaliza kisiasa, and they're within my circle, and this my so-called friends cannot tell me it's sijui Nevina, sijui Alan are vying for the school presidency. Ona, go and tell them Sally is back. Company tapiga kwa ground.
A school in Embu, Tenri Primary School, found itself trending after pupils turned school elections into full Kenyan politics.
Hello. This election has been sabotaged. Sally and Nevina are bribing the election chair lady. This will not be tolerated.
These kids are not inventing this behavior from nowhere. They are copying leadership styles they see around them, from politicians arriving with crowds, to aggressive supporters, to exaggerated promises, to election tension. Children absorb everything.
Hello. Good morning, primary students. I'm here to request for your votes.
We want Nevina. Nevina imetosha. Nevina!
Hello. Ni sawa Nevina. Ulitutumia goons wakaribu meeting yetu. As we speak, Alan is with the schoolers.
And as for now, we cannot tell his health condition.
Na hatujui ndo shideni. But nyinyi mke mkijua, sisi ndo tuko ground. Mimi ndo niko ground.
The terms coming out of these pupils sounded less like a classroom and more like a national election. Goons, manifestos, rigging allegations, manipulation. And now we are seeing politics slowly becoming entertainment for the younger generation. The same way adults fight online over politicians, children are now creating their own version inside schools. That is when you realize this thing runs deeper than jokes and memes.
Kuna watu wameanza kunionyesha madharau. Alan, Sally, and Nevina. Go tell them that I'm going to vie for a second term. Kwa sababu ya hiyo, pangeni line nionyeshe nani bosi.
And suddenly you sit back and ask yourself, how do primary school kids already understand political chaos? And maybe the scary part is this: the children already know the script. Because for years in Kenya, politics has been associated with chaos, division, rigging, propaganda, and voter bribery. Only that in this case, the bribes were sweets. And that is where the famous Kiswahili phrase comes in. Fasihi ni kioo cha jamii. Art reflects society, children reflect society. And these kids are simply becoming mirrors of the political environment around them.
Goes to junior school. If you are giving us the school president, then that means the school deputy should come from primary. Failure to that, we shall vote for our own president. Primary school power! Power!
And then the lower grades saw the drama and they also wanted in. Now suddenly, everyone wants their own deputy president. Politics has become content, boys versus girls, campaigns, crowds, influence. At this point, Kenyan politics has officially entered TikTok generation. But this is not the first time school children have found themselves in the middle of politics. Last year, the controversial play Echoes of War by Butere Girls High School became a national conversation.
Now to the content of that piece of art, Echoes of War, the play by Butere Girls. It delves into themes of bad governance, blatant disregard for the law, and the widening gap between the youth and the older generation.
We're revisiting our story on the Echoes of War.
Now, it was a dream shattered for the students of Butere Girls High School who are denied the chance to showcase their talents at the National Drama and Film Festival in Nakuru.
The play criticized governance and social issues.
There exists a natural balance between respect for the old and care for the young. Those who are old bring experience, while those who are young bring enthusiasm and creative innovation. This is the relationship that weaves together our ever-evolving society. This is Echoes of War. The artistic backdrop unfolds in the Royal Velvet Emirates, a fictional kingdom set in the heart of the Middle East, where power, tradition and tension collide. According to the playwright, this kingdom, the old have quickly lost trust of the younger generation. The young are agitated by the inflexible strictness of the old. The play, now the talk of the town, has sent shockwaves through those in power. It boldly exposes bad governance, blatant disregard for the law, rampant abuse of human rights, and a shocking neglect of the youth's voice. The story is told through characters, a royal ruler, the Sultan, who oozes all qualities of power and affluence. His elaborate movements paint him as an authoritative man in full control. Mama Anifa, a woman steeped in religion. She demonstrates qualities of an overprotective mother saddened by the pain of her daughter's mistake.
And instead of simply remaining a school drama performance, it turned political. It became the play that saw police confronting school students. Tear gas, chaos and fear. And many Kenyans were left asking, was this really the right way to handle school children?
Ideologies. And I saw people saying, oh, the government is threatened by what? I mean, we have faced so many other political issues. We have faced more serious security issues as a country to be threatened by a play by young people. The thing is, we are insisting, let the politicians give way and allow our children to criticize us. We have no problem.
The playwright behind Echoes of War was former Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala, who is now associated with the Democracy for Citizens Party.
Imefika mali Kenya mnani arrest because naandika play Marubu. Nakuja na polisi 50. Nimefanya makosa gani? Nimefanya makosa gani kuandika? You are arresting me because of writing a play. Writing a play. What offense have I committed? Alive. What mistake have I committed? Tell me, Marubu. When this yayo? Niambie. This yayo, munatumika ku arrest mtu ameandika play. Eh? Ama nimefanya makosa gani?
This wasn't his first controversial script. Back in 2013, he wrote Shackles of Doom, another politically critical play that was initially banned before later being allowed. And during the Echoes of War controversy, Kenyans also discovered something many didn't know.
Who is the script writer? it is Cleophas Malala, which is okay. Anybody can write a script and give it to a school. But then, who actually, in terms of the law, Article 23 of the TSC Act, Part 2, Paragraph 2, says a person shall not engage in the teaching service unless such a person is registered as a teacher under this act. It's very clear. And co-curricular activities is the most emotional aspect of teaching.
However, Cleophas Malala is also a lecturer.
I am a playwright. Before I became a politician, I am a playwright. I started writing plays 25 years ago. These Echoes of War is my 82nd play to do. And therefore, from this perspective, I am an artist, I am a playwright, I am a director.
Meaning, it possesses academic qualifications connected to the education sector. But long before Kenya's school drama politics, Africa had already seen the power of student theatre. One of the most famous examples was Sarafina from South Africa in 1976. The musical told the story of school children resisting apartheid during the Soweto uprising. It became a symbol of youth resistance, freedom and political awareness. And it showed the world that sometimes young people use art to say what society fears saying openly. So now we are seeing two sides of modern education. One side is beautiful, children learning leadership, confidence, public speaking. But the other side, children are also inheriting the toxicity of our politics. And if we are not careful, we might raise a generation that believes leadership is not about service, but influence, noise, chaos, and control. And maybe this entire situation is teaching us one painful truth. Children don't just listen to society, they imitate it. They become what they constantly see. So before blaming the younger generation, maybe we should first ask ourselves, what kind of political environment are we creating for them? Kenya is raising a very politically aware generation. The question is, are we raising future leaders or future political replicas of the same broken system? Meanwhile, the political divorce between President William Ruto and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua continues getting uglier. The Kenyan politics is a game where alliances change overnight, where accusations fly every single day, and where even death can become a political battlefield.
And I want to say, without fear of any contradiction, while I am here at the coast, for those of you who are visionless, the people who are agendaless, the people who have no vision for our nation, the people who have no plan for our nation, the people who have no agenda for our nation, you will not divide our nation using ethnicity. You will not divide our nation using hate. Hiyo mnafanya, the hate you are spewing. I want to tell you, one day, you will answer for the tribalism you are perpetuating in Kenya, for the hate you are perpetuating in Kenya. The life of Rachel Wandeto will not go unanswered. You who call others traitors, you mwenye mnawaita Wakenya wengine wasaliti, mpaka mama Rachel Wandeto ameuawa kwa sababu ya chuki yenu, kwa sababu ya ukabila yenu, kwa sababu ya profiling ambayo umefanya Wakenya wengine eti ni wasaliti. Siku moja mutajibu, na Kenya hii hatuwezi kukubali.
This week, the country continues to mourn the painful death of Rachel Wandeto, a woman who was allegedly attacked with acid after reportedly having a tattoo associated with President William Ruto on her shoulder. But before the country could even process the tragedy, politics entered the story. And suddenly, her death stopped being just an investigation, it became a blame game.
Munyoro wants to develop the Mungiki culture back into Central Province. And we shall not allow him. We cannot allow him to terrorize our fellow citizens. We are aware that nowadays he goes around all the major towns in Murang'a, Nyeri, Kiambu, and threatens business people. Wale ambao wanakataa maneno yako, kama yule mama anaitwa Rachel, anauliwa ati kwa sababu ameweka picha ya Rais Ruto na amekataa hiyo siasa yako ya kugawanya Wakenya.
And that is where the confusion begins. Was this a political attack? Was it a personal dispute? Or has politics now become so deeply rooted in society that every tragedy immediately turns political? And before investigators could even conclude their findings, politicians had already taken positions. Some leaders within United Democratic Alliance began linking the incident to the politics of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Claims started flying online and in rallies, with accusations that tribal politics and political division are now fueling hostility among citizens. In Kenya, politics is no longer just about leadership. It has become identity. People defend politics like football clubs, families fight over political opinions, friendships break, communities divide, and once tribal politics enters the conversation, emotions become dangerous. President William Ruto has since stated that Rachel's death will not go unpunished and warned against leaders spreading divisive politics. But critics are asking, is this truly about justice, or is this another political opportunity to weaken opponents ahead of 2027? And as tensions continue between President William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, another family story is now resurfacing. A story of the late former Nyeri Governor Nderetu Gachagua and his son, Jackson Kihara Gachagua, and the man at the center of it, yet again, is Rigathi Gachagua. According to reports highlighted by Kenyan'S, detail emerged in court alleging that senior government officials and security operatives made covert visits to Manyani Maximum Security Prison during the impeachment process against Rigathi Gachagua back in October 2024. This Manyani Maximum Security is where the son of the late governor had been imprisoned for 20 years.
Before I conclude, sorry.
Yeah.
I would wish this court to really sympathize with me, my lord, even though you have guided me and said that most of the issues, before I proceed, my lord, were looked into by the trial and the appeal courts. I'd still urge this court to really look into my issues because, as we speak, my family is suffering, and I'm the only person who can access the content of the documents which are needed
by your family.
By my family. That is the reason why I'm behind all this. Had I maybe given out that location
of where the documents are,
I would not be here today.
Sorry, you would not?
Had I given out, or had I disclosed to my uncle where those documents are, perhaps I wouldn't be here today.
He claims pressure mounted on him during his father's final days in hospital, pressure to surrender title deeds, logbooks, and sensitive family documents linked to the family estate. According to Jackson, he refused, and shortly after, he allegedly found himself facing a robbery with violence case that he believes was politically orchestrated. Now, Jackson Kihara Gachagua, the jailed son of the late governor, claims he was framed. And this is where Kenyan politics becomes dangerous, because once political wars begin, they rarely remain political. Families get dragged in, businesses suffer, friends disappear, cases emerge, allegations surface. And suddenly, people who were never in politics become casualties of political battles. Politics is often described as strategy, but in Kenya, it increasingly feels like survival. Coalitions form for conveniences, alliances become enemies overnight, private family matters become public weapons, and one thing remains constant: destroy your opponent's image before they destroy yours. That is the game. Character assassination, public humiliation, court battles, media narratives, linked information, everything becomes ammunition. And now the biggest political question slowly emerging ahead of the 2027 general election is this: is President William Ruto genuinely threatened by Rigathi Gachagua? Because despite their fallout, Gachagua still commands influence, especially in parts of Mount Kenya region. And in Kenyan politics, numbers matter. Every rally, every accusation, every court case, every public statement is now being interpreted through the lens of 2027. And maybe the saddest part in all this is how easily serious issues become political tools. A woman dies and immediately comes formed. A family dispute emerges and politics enters. A court case appears and suddenly there are claims of political revenge. In Kenya, sometimes truth becomes secondary. Narratives become more powerful than facts. Kenya's political drama is no longer just happening in parliament. It is happening in homes, in families, in friendships, and now even inside criminal investigations. The question is, where do we draw the line between politics and humanity? This week, Kenya witnessed something powerful. Matatus parked, citizens stayed home, businesses slowed down, not because people were lazy, but because fuel prices had become unbearable. And for a moment, the streets reminded the government that when the transport sector stops moving, the country stops moving too. On the first day of negotiations between matatu operators and the government, hopes were high. The meeting involved major stakeholders and the Cabinet Secretary for Energy, Opiyo Wandayi, who was expected to help resolve the crisis surrounding rising fuel prices. But according to matatu operators, the talks yielded nothing meaningful. In fact, things became even more controversial after the government allegedly communicated information that had not actually been agreed upon.
There are things we did not agree here. And I believe, Bwana Churchill, with all due respect, we did say that we are going to communicate here, clear and open, that we have not agreed, so that we carry this conversation forward. And you did state that we may have tomorrow Tuesday, we may have tomorrow Wednesday. Are we clear, members? Yes. We did not agree in anything.
Because while operators were still discussing the way forward, the government came out publicly saying there had been an agreement for operations to return to normal. But according to the matatu sector, that was not true. No agreement had been reached. The strike was still on. The only thing agreed upon was that conversations would continue the following day.
With all due respect, and the respect that we have been given today here, as you can see, my sisters and brothers and the citizens of this nation, we want to extend that respect to the media and to the nation. What we have agreed here, I can confirm. The CS Mbadi and CS Mukomen are seated here, Wandayi. I'm sorry for that. And our able governor, that the strike has been suspended. That is what I want our Kenyan citizen to hear. And since we have a nation to build and a government to run, Kenya is ours and we should build it. So therefore, on behalf of our transport stakeholder, our partner and our corporate, on behalf of our TSV, I want to assure them that since we have suspended the strike, give room to negotiation.
On the second day, another meeting was held between the government and stakeholders in the transport sector. This time, a temporary understanding was reached. The matatu strike could be suspended for 1 week as both sides worked toward a long-term solution on fuel prices. At that moment, many Kenyans believed the pressure from wananchi and operators was finally forcing the government to listen. But then, something interesting happened. Days later, after the matatu sector reportedly held talks with President William Ruto, the tone completely changed.
As the transport sector, we are happy with what you've come up with, and we are going to support the government. The government belongs to us. We want to thank the governor of Nairobi because we know that the county of Nairobi lost a lot of money, and we agreed with him that we have to work together to make sure that everything is going to work. So we want to thank the government We want to thank the president. We know he has sorted out a lot of our issues, which has been pending for long. The issue of 14-seater within Nairobi and Mombasa, he has sorted it out. We know very well within Mombasa, we do not have new vehicles, we have old vehicles. We know what has been happening. Our people has been taking vehicles from Somali and Tanzania, the old vehicles, to bring them here. They are not paying duty. So we welcome that, His Excellency. We are going to work with your government. We, all of us, we are Kenyans. We want peace in this country, and we want to be united so that we can move forward. When the president talked about Singapore, to me, I've seen it's a reality. So let's put politics aside. Politics will come 2027. Let's build our country. Thank you. Okay, sorry. We want to say something. We've called off the strike. We had suspended the strike, but we've called it off. So we will not have strike next week. We are going to work. Thank you.
Suddenly, the language shifted from frustrations to patriotism. Now the message became, we have a country to build. And many Kenyans began asking, what exactly changed?
Not to stop the strike. That was the decision which he had from the word go. So many of us were not happy with the suspension of the strike.
It is also claimed that a certain government allied transport leaders were paid over 500,000 Kenya shillings each to support the suspension of the strike and help stabilize both political and economic tensions. Additionally, those individuals are alleged to have been facilitated with air tickets to Mombasa, where planned engagement with the president was expected.
The fuel prices are not gone down. Transport fares were still high. The ordinary mwananchi was still struggling. So, if nothing had changed economically, why had everything suddenly changed politically? And in the middle of all this political negotiation, the ordinary citizen was nowhere at the table. Yet, they are the ones paying the highest price. When fuel prices rise, transport fares rise. When fares rise, food prices rise. When food prices rise, life itself becomes expensive. And somehow, the burden always lands on the same people, the common mwananchi. As pressure continues to mount over the controversial government-to-government fuel deal, leaders within United Democratic Alliances have already begun preparing citizens for difficult economic times ahead. President William Ruto has defended the G2G fuel agreement, arguing that Kenyans should appreciate the fact that fuel is available despite the high prices. He compared Kenya to countries such as Ethiopia, saying some nations are paying high fuel costs while also facing shortages. But that argument has also sparked debate online, because many Kenyans are not just asking whether fuel is available, they are asking whether it is affordable. To a struggling citizen, availability means little if survival itself is becoming expensive. And maybe this is the biggest lesson from this week. In Kenya, conversations often change once politics enters the room. One moment people are demanding accountability, the next moment they are told to endure for the sake of nation building. But nation building becomes difficult when the very people building the nation can barely afford to live in it.
Na ujuaje tutakunyonyesha alright. Tutakunyonyesha nani? Na tafadhali heshimu mama. Wanga ni siku zombo. Tulete hapa mdomo, mzae utanyonya. Siaka.
Yet again, the political drift inside Orange Democratic Movement continues to deepen. Previously, the tension seemed to be revolving around Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi and the Odinga family. But this week, the spotlight has shifted to a new political storm, James Orengo versus the party itself. And now Kenyans are beginning to ask a serious question: who truly leads ODM today?
When Baba left us, there was an issue about leadership of ODM moving forward, and Oburu Oginga was installed as a party leader. It was interim, then now later they're like, okay.
Yeah.
How did you take that?
Well, it was highly unconstitutional, irregular
For real?
The person who did it was President Ruto. He convened a meeting in State House. As people were going to India, he was already making arrangements of how that position, Raila Amolo Odinga, was going to be given to somebody else.
Tensions escalated after party members accused Governor James Orengo of disrespecting Gladys Wanga. The exchange may seem like ordinary party disagreement, but many believe it reflects a deeper identity crisis within ODM. Because for years, ODM positioned itself as the face of opposition politics in Kenya, a party associated with resistance, street protest, government accountability, and standing with the frustrations of ordinary citizens. But today, many Kenyans feel that spirit is disappearing, and the biggest reason being mentioned is the so-called broad-based government.
Waswahili wanasema umoja ni nini? Si umoja ni nguvu jameni? Mimi nawauliza, mimi nimekubaliana na nilikubaliana na Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. Tukasema tunaunganisha taifa letu la Kenya. Tunatengeneza serikali ya broad-based, ya kuunganisha Wakenya wote, ili tuondoe ukabila na tuondoe chuki na tuondoe ubaguzi. Wakenya wote wawe wamoja. Sehemu zote za Kenya zishughulikiwe kwa mambo ya maendeleo.
Since the broad-based government arrangement between President William Ruto and sections of ODM leadership, the political atmosphere has completely changed. And nowhere has that change been more visible than in Kisumu.
You didn't see people in Kondele protesting, for example. The People's Defense Forces of Kondele were not protesting. It's not that, is fuel being sold cheaper in Kisumu?
I think it's even more expensive.
Yes, it's more expensive towards that side, but there were no protests. And there's something that was very glaring. For the first time we saw protests in Kano. We saw protests in Githurai. We saw protests in Nyandarua. And that tag, yes, that tag that had been reserved for wale watu wa kung'oa reli, wale watu wa kuharibu mali ya watu ya kuchoma vitu, you realize that no, protesting is not a tribal affair. So now you see the reason why there's lack of class solidarity is for a long time, these guys have been saying, as we've been protesting for these things, and now you're telling us, Apana, this one is our God-given leader. Now, do you think that these are people who will stand with you in solidarity? It's your turn kung'oa reli.
For the longest time, Kisumu was known as the heartbeat of opposition politics. The streets were always active, demonstrations were common, and supporters consistently maintained that the late Raila Odinga should have been in office. But during the recent nationwide frustrations over rising fuel prices, many people noticed something unusual. While protests and demonstrations were happening in different parts of the country, Kisumu remained relatively calm, quiet and politically silent, and to critics, that silence spoke volumes. Because many people started asking, how can a region once known for resistance suddenly become silent over an issue affecting every Kenyan? Fuel prices do not choose political parties. The high cost of living affects everyone. So why did the political energy suddenly disappear? And this is where the criticism toward ODM continues growing. Critics argue that once sections of the party joined the broad-based government, they could no longer aggressively challenge the same administration they are now eating with.
The comfort zone of maandamano was so easy. But today we want to resist maandamano and grab the opportunity of development. I will do anything. Baba left us in broad-based government. How then do we leave the government to go and seek the government? I do not want to be in Hosea's book, being the one being described as my people perish for lack of what? God has remembered Busia. When you see the seers here, he knows Busia is crying. When he sees you here, he knows Busia was derailed and denied their right in this country.
In simple terms, how do you oppose a government you are politically dining with? And perhaps that is why many Kenyans now feel ODM is caught in the middle, too close to the government to become a strong opposition force, yet too politically detached to be fully merge with the ruling party. And now, another major question is beginning to emerge ahead of the 2027 election. Can ODM even produce a serious presidential candidate anymore? Because if the party fully stands against government, it risks destabilizing the very arrangement benefiting some of its leaders. But if it fully supports government, then how does it remain an opposition party? And maybe that is why ODM now appears politically isolated. It cannot fully join the opposition figures like Kalonzo Musyoka, Rigathi Gachagua or Fred Matiang'i because politically the party is already partially aligned with government. At the same time, many supporters feel it no longer represents the aggressive opposition identity it once had. And this has now created one of the biggest political debates in Kenya today. Is ODM still truly an opposition party, or has it slowly become a smaller branch orbiting around United Democratic Alliance? Politics in Kenya has always been about alliances, survival, and influence. But one thing history teaches us is this: the moment an opposition party loses its voice, its supporters begin searching for a new one. And as 2027 slowly approaches, ODM may soon face its biggest political test yet. Can it still stand independently, or has the broad-based government permanently changed its identity? And that is what made this week in Kenya politics so revealing, because beyond the headlines, beyond the speeches, and beyond the political alliances, we got to see the true impact politics is having on everyday life. Children are now imitating political behavior inside schools. Opposition parties are struggling to maintain identity. Citizens are being forced to choose between survival and silence. And political rivals are becoming so personal that even families and private lives are getting dragged into the battlefield. Meanwhile, the ordinary mwananchi continues carrying the weight of expensive fuel, high transport fares, rising food prices, and endless political promises. And maybe that is the biggest lesson from all this. In Kenya, politics affects everyone, whether you support government or opposition, whether you are rich or struggling, whether you are in parliament or in primary school. Eventually, the political environment shapes all of us. As 2027 slowly approaches, alliances will continue changing, accusations will continue flying, and political drama will only become louder. But the real question remains: will Kenyan politics finally evolve into leadership and accountability, or will it continue surviving on division, propaganda, and public spectacle? This has been Keeping Up with Kenya Political Drama with me, Milian Kashi. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to tell me which story shocked you the most this week. I'll see you on the next one.